Hey, welcome back to another episode of From Pen to Page. Today I'm going to be talking about something very different from what I normally do on this channel. I'm going to be talking about how I made a book teaser trailer for my new novel, Manitou, for under $100. So hit that like and subscribe button and stick around. Hey, so today I'm going to be showing you guys how I made an AI book trailer for a little less than $100. Now, I know AI is kind of a weird thing in the writing community, and I have very mixed feelings on it. Obviously, I don't feel like AI can ever replace humans, and I would never use AI to write anything. But when it comes to creating promotional or marketing material for my book, AI wound up being the most affordable and most effective way to actually make a teaser trailer that I liked. And I think that's the thing that you have to kind of decide on whether or not you want to use AI versus hiring a contractor. You can hire a company to make you a book teaser, and the chances are it'll be pretty decent, but you may not like everything they do and you're going to pay through the nose for it. And so instead of doing that, I wanted to learn how to do it for myself and save a few dollars and maybe get something a little bit more customized. Because if you've ever looked at book trailers or book teasers, which have been around for a while now, you'll notice a lot of times they're kind of stills or they're shots of random characters, but they're never really connected. And then there's usually some kind of hokey narration added on top of it. The music may or may not really work with it. Sometimes it's just a bunch of stock photos or stock videos. So I wanted something much more custom and much more cinematic. And that's why I decided to learn the tools for myself, and why I'm going to try and share with you today how I did it so that you can maybe save a few bucks and try it on your own, and maybe you'll get some pretty good results too. So let's dive into it. All right. So the very first thing that I did for my trailer was to really think about music. And that was something that I just believe in scenes and films and stuff. Music is such an essential part of what we do and creating the feel for a trailer. Music to me is the first thing that I always sort of look to. So I used a couple of different tools and I'm going to talk about them. I'll go over them right now and then we'll jump into each one. I use Chat GPT for the prompts. And here's the thing, when you're using AI, you need to be very specific in the way that you prompt it to create music or images or video. You just have to know the right words to say and stuff. And so Chat GPT is very good for giving you the prompts you need to feed to the AI, but it's also good at creating a shot list. And those are the two things that I primarily use Chat GPT for. When I started with the idea for this trailer, I wanted something very similar to Gordon Lightfoot's Sundown. Now, obviously, I couldn't use that because it's copyrighted music and whatever. So I told Chat that I want something that captures the vibe of Gordon Lightfoot's Sundown without copying it. And so the song's feel needs to be finger-picked acoustic guitar, slow stalking rhythm, a minor key tension, dark folk, American tone, storytelling, vocal delivery, quiet but ominous mood. And it gave me a couple of different prompts to feed into the AI for that. So yeah, what did I use to actually create the music? I'll show you. Basically, I went over to Suno and I fed in those prompts from here, like for instance, this right here, and went over here and kind of gave it that. You're given a certain amount of credits to use. I went with a monthly plan. I'm only going to use this for 1 month, so I think I paid about $30 for it for just the month. If you want to have specific lyrics add in, you can do that, and then you push create, and it'll give you a bunch of iterations of different songs. And the one I chose, Tracks in the Tree Line, I absolutely love, and it's so funny because it hits all the major story points in my book, and I never told it anything about my book. I just said I wanted dark folk, acoustic, slow tempo, that kind of thing. I never gave it any major story points. And if you push play,
Fog on the fence line, smoke in the bones of the hills. The last of the daylight bleeding through crooked windmills. You said the woods just watch you when you walk.
So it gave me a lot of iterations. I loved this one. It created the song Tracks in the Tree Line. So I saved that. And what's really cool is now I own the rights to that song and I can use it again or license it out to other people. So that's kind of a cool little bonus to have that song specifically made for me by me using AI. That voice, amazing. I could never sing like that. And I don't know anyone who could. So it was a great song. So anyway, from the song, I then went back to Chat GPT and I created what's called a shot list. Basically, it prompted me that in these kinds of book teaser trailers, you want to have a certain number of shots. So, for instance, an atmosphere shot, you want to have 4 of those. You want to have some character shots of major characters. You want to have some hints of the danger, in this case, the creature, and some action moments, and then a closing shot. Now, it gave me these ideas based on my story, what it knows about my book. I didn't use all of these. In fact, I think I only used 1 or 2 from each category. And then I kind of came up with my own too. But once I had a shot list down and I had the idea of, okay, this is what I want to create with the shots, then I went over to the next tool, which is AI Creator Studio or OpenArt AI. There's different monthly subscription plans. I think I went with the $50 a month again for 1 month. So if you're looking at like 56 bucks for this and like 30 odd bucks for Suno, you're still like around 90 bucks, right? So you're not breaking 100 yet. So one of the great things about OpenArt AI is that it can use or create specific characters and then reuse them over and over again. And that's really cool because, like I said before, most AI trailers don't have similar characters or the same character throughout. And so they do look very AI generated and they do look kind of hokey. OpenArt AI lets you basically create a character starting with an image, and then it will reference that image and use it in all the shots you want to create. And it'll create that 3D model of that character in every shot you want to do. A year or so ago, when I was thinking about the characters and really wanting to get a visual for myself of them, I used some random AI maker to create characters after describing them. And like, here's Jess Blackfoot and Kaylin Mortimer and Nick DeGraw and Roy and Sheriff Baylor Warren and stuff. And I use this in some of my Instagram posts and stuff, but I use these same images to create consistent characters in the AI. So we've got these characters that I made previously, and now we're going to actually use them consistently in the video clips. So let's say I want Jess Blackfoot tracking down the creature in the woods. Since I already created a profile with him, I simply select them from my library of characters in OpenArt. We'll use Jess Blackfoot here, and I click on Create. And now you've got Jess Blackfoot, right? And I'm going to have him doing something, is playing guitar or whatever. That's just the sample one. But you can basically type in something like, is playing hopscotch on the sidewalk. Okay. So we have that, right? And you can even create a reference image for that if you want. And then we'll just do one. We'll just use this real quick. I'll use Turbo just to see what we'll create. Now, normally, while this is working, you would use a lot more specific descriptions. And again, you can use Chat GPT to kind of help you flesh out, what you want the character to be doing, but you'll basically be creating what's called an establishing shot, right? So it's working away and we'll let it do that. Okay, so it created the shot of Jess Blackfoot playing hopscotch on the sidewalk. Let's look at it. And there he is. There's my character that I created, and now he's holding two cigarettes. Okay. And he's playing hopscotch at his school. Okay, so obviously it's a little weird, and I might go back and say, "Hey, get rid of the cigarettes," but create the same image, and it would do that. Now that we have the image, we can download this image and use that as an establishing shot for the video. All right, I'm not going to waste credits having him do stuff, but you'll get the idea in a minute. So then you'd go over to video and you'd click on image to video and you would select the image. So if you had downloaded the image, you'd upload it. Or if you just want to use the character that you already created, you can do that and then have him do something, whatever, playing hopscotch or tracking down a serial killer or something. And it will actually create the video from there. Now, there's something I haven't really covered too much, and that is the different models that you can use, because OpenArt AI uses several different models for its different images and video creation. Not all of them are good at everything. And the ones that I found to be the best are there's two. Seedream 4.5 tends to be really good at creating stills, the most lifelike stills. And so this is Pop Appleman's Boneyard. It doesn't actually look like that in the teaser trailer, but that's what that looks like. It can do pretty realistic people too. So there's Jess Blackfoot right there, checking out some tracks in the tree lines, right? It does really good at stills. But when you go to video, the one I actually used for the video, I used Kling 2.6 or 3. They're both good. Those AI models are really good at transitions, at movements, making things look a little more lifelike. Once you've done enough of those, you start getting video clips that you really like. And here's the thing, though, you're never going to get it the first time. So, like, for instance, I had a still I started of the plane, the cartel plane getting hit by lightning. So I started with that. I went into here and I uploaded the image of the plane over here. And then I had Chat help me describe what was going to happen in the scene. And what it came up with was something that wasn't fantastic, but it was okay. It was this. And you can see it gets hit by lightning and then it sort of maneuvers off to the side. I liked parts of that. I didn't like everything. So I had to basically realize that I'm going to probably do some editing with these images anyways, but it gave me enough of a video that I could do something with it. And when you do the video, you'd want to do it in 1080 and, whether or not you want audio on or not, because it can generate sounds as well. It's not great at this sound effects, but it can do them. And you can see here, like, let me pick another one. This is Pleo about to bust down the motel where Snickers is. And I had created, you'll see it kind of messed up. When it generated the image, it made the motel his name, which is dumb. So I actually, in Photoshop, took that out so it wouldn't be there. But then using this as an establishing shot, I used Kling to create this. And you can see that the sign's gone now. And it's kind of a long take, but he kicks it in and then he goes in and then we cut. So that's how that's done. And like I said, there's a lot of times where you're going to have to use up your credits. Right now I have a little over 7,000 before you get a shot you really want. So that's why I went with the slightly more expensive monthly plan to create the shots. So for instance, like this is an earlier take of Roy firing his gun. And it was supposed to be a flare gun, but it looks more like something out of Star Wars right here, right? So I had to rework this a few times before I kind of got the shot I wanted. And eventually I decided, you know what? It's not the AI is really not doing the flare gun thing very well. So I just got rid of that altogether and I went with something closer to this. which which you see in the actual trailer, that silly reaction. Anyways, so that's how you get the video, right? And all the different clips and stuff. And again, like here's the truck trailer shot. I actually originally wanted two vehicles smashing into each other, but for some reason AI just couldn't do it. This was as close as it got, and I wound up redoing the shot in a different way, and you'll see it differently in the trailer itself. So yeah, that's how I went about creating those video clips that I later edited together. And as far as editing goes, I went with Clipchamp, which is free to use on any Windows PC. You can edit the music and the clips and everything. And then as far as the sound effects, because initially it didn't have very many sound effects, I went to a website and there's a few of these where you can get free to use open source stock foley effects, sound effects, and I added those into my editing as well. I went for about 2 minutes on the trailer, which for a book teaser trailer, you really don't want to go over 2 minutes. You probably want to actually do a little less, but that's the route I went. Now, to give you guys an idea of some of the iterations I got, I'll show you just real quick the teaser trailer as it was originally, just a few parts of it.
Fog on the fence.
You can hear the audio music there. Now this I did not love. I actually photoshopped in some cars. I wanted kind of a rundown kind of scrapyard, junkyard for one of the shots, and it just didn't seem to do realistic camera movements. And then it did this weird fade, which I didn't really like. So I wound up redoing that completely. And then later on, so this is one of Jess tracking down the creature. It didn't look great. It looked a little weird, as you can see. I liked his movements, but then it did this weird phase, and then this is ridiculous looking. So I had to rework that. I liked his reaction of looking off screen, but I didn't like this. So I had to rework that quite a bit. So, anyways, you get an idea of how often you have to iterate to get something that really works. And here's the new, much better, I think, junkyard scene. It will jump over here to this. I really love what it did, like much better. He kind of lost his hat. But then at the end here, you'll see Roy shooting. And you can see I cut that pretty tight after the plane gets hit by lightning and added some effects to that. And then I went to my book cover. So that's a way that if you're willing to spend time with the tools, you can absolutely make an amazing teaser trailer for your book or whatever creative project you're doing without having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on videographers and editors and effects and all those things that most independent authors don't have the budget for. I've shown you basically how to create the kind of prompts you need to create, because prompting the AI creation tools is very important. The specific words that you use to get the AI to give you the kind of shots you want or the kind of music you want is very important. I've shown you the platforms I use to create the music, the platforms I use to create the images and the videos, and the software I use to edit it all together. So hopefully you found all of this helpful. If you have questions, feel free to let me know in the comments, and we'll see you next time. And if you like thrilling fantasy or supernatural suspense, check out my books, Manitou and the Soothsayer, now available on Amazon.